I mean, you've seen the numbers, the statistics. Where we're seeing Africa's growth rate. Reports have it that there's been a decline in our growth rate from 2021 to 2023. We saw a decline from about, I think, 4.2% to 3.8%. And yes, there are still economies and countries that are still finding ways to make do with all the challenges and still achieve growth. But what would you say your analysis of where we are, Nigeria as a nation, in the grand scheme, where we are today in comparison to where we were maybe in the last 2, 3, 4 years?
Well, basically, people will say things have gone south. What does that mean? There have been complexities that have not received the kind of attention that they require. Take, for example, insecurity and the impact that that is having. I'll give you real life, 2 life examples. So there's a fisherman that typically would bring fresh fish to us. And suddenly the prices bump up. And I said, oh God, what's the problem? He says, oh, the last time we were at sea, one of us was kidnapped. Yeah, real life. We all had to put together money to secure his release. These are common fishermen. Now, that insecurity, what has it done? It's driven a lot of people away from farms. It's driven a lot of people away from fishing. What has that done? It means that we do not have even enough to eat, enough to transport, enough to sell. So you are having issues of our inability to even produce that which we will feed on. What is the impact of that? People are going to run to import in order to substitute. How does that complicate matters? The pursuit of foreign money versus how much Naira is going after it. So now inflation, huge inflation on food. Second, inadequate supply of the foreign exchange that is needed. And then you now discover private sector individuals who have set up industries. They need this foreign exchange to bring in the vital resources that they must use to make their production. They can't get that, or by the time they get it, the price doesn't make sense. And so at the end of the day, they sit down and take a look and say, what have we gotten from our investment? And sometimes when the money is put together, we can't transfer abroad. So then what happens? Industrialists begin to leave one at a time. When that happens, what do you think has happened? We have exported employment. Because basically, they still continue to sell their products, but then they're not producing them here. And so our people become unemployed. We have the highest rate of unemployment that has ever happened. And then we have these burgeoning youth that are out there who can't be mentored, who can't go to school. Then that multiplies the kind of issues that we're dealing with. So we have serious structural issues that have not been dealt with. Inflation rate hasn't been dealt with appropriately. Then the ability of our people to even find food hasn't been dealt with. Energy cost has gone up, rightfully because, the subsidies have been withdrawn. But all of this require, some cohesion in the management of this. And that's actually why our summit has collaboration as a major aspect of, look, guys, let's sit at the table. Yeah. Executive, let's sit at the table. Judiciary, let's sit at the table. Legislature, let's sit at the table. And then national, subnational, and even the local government. So, everybody has a part to play.
So just quickly.
Yes.
Nigerian Economic Summit has been in existence since 1996.
30 years.
You've had repeated, advisory statements to the Nigerian government and even, to the wider, West Africa. What do you think, right, is failing? We've seen that the economy drop from $574 billion in 2014 to, just slightly below $300 billion in 2024. So what do you think is failing? If you continue to have these summits every year, implementation seems to be a problem. And so what will be your message this year at this year's summit?
Okay, first of all, let me correct that impression. And people have said this a number of times. You guys have just been going there, having conversations for 30 years, and we haven't seen a difference. That's not absolutely true. We have had good successes where we have had partner governments that have listened. I'll give you at least two crucial examples. One, look at what technology has done. Telecommunications has done. That was canvassed at one of the summits, and one of the presidents immediately signed up, let's open up this sector. Just imagine what the trader that is depending on that communication to get his goods across. It is phenomenal. How much has that added to the economy? It's incredible. Now let's go to the common man. The idea of pension. People used to just go and queue and die, and they can't get hold of their pension. And so the whole privatization and putting it into policy is something that was canvassed at the summit. So now people can retire, and they're sure that with an appropriate pensions agency, they collect their money. Now let's go back to, okay, so what has gone wrong and what needs to be fixed? Short of repeating myself, is to say that everyone has to collaborate and partner in the sense of the government, the businesses, because we have a role to play as well. Individuals have their role to play as well. Legislature need to put in the kind of regulatory framework that is going to allow investors to come in. And there's need for partnership between the central bank, for example, and the finance. When you pull those two together, that is when you can begin to deal with issues of inflation. One person can't do that. And all of this pulled together. So what do we need now? We need everybody to come to the table. And let's all admit, you know what? We have failed. Stop pointing fingers. Let's sit down at a round table and let's begin to fix, let's prioritize what are the three crucial things that we must do to turn around the situation. And so that's why we're canvassing what we call less is more.
Right.
Just face a few sectors, tidy them up, and we're up and running.
I think in a few minutes, the Nigerian Economic Summit commences live, and we're looking forward to hearing these conversations and these suggestions that you've highlighted. Wonuola Adetayo, thank you so much for your time with us, and all the best. As you sit on the board of NESG, and even as all the other endeavors that you're involved in.
Thank you.